Hi, I'm Dr. Loretta Stumba, and this is part 2 of what to expect at your next doctor's visit with your child. The first blog I did on this was speaking a little bit about newborns, infants. I thought I'd save school-age children for part 2 and adolescents for part 3. So as far as school-age children, we do want to see these kiddos at intervals of a year, unless you have them on a medication that needs to be monitored or you have some acute issues in between. But for general health care maintenance, we'd like to see them in their medical home, which is their primary doctor's office, yearly. And the reason for this is, multiple things really. Number one is there are things that we check for during a physical exam that oftentimes is not verbalized, but also very important for health. So, as your child walks into the exam room, we're automatically doing an assessment the minute we lay eyes on them. So to go too long without us doing that and without an actual thorough physical exam is never wise. Now, sometimes it's difficult to get kids into the doctors, mostly because they have this fear of the vaccines, which understandable. But the important thing is that you have to reassure them and sort of give them an idea of what to expect. So if they're not going to get shots at that visit, just be clear. And if they are, just be honest about it. Don't create too much anxiety or too much of a back and forth arguing thing about it. It's if you believe that they need their vaccines, you just tell them and let them know what to expect. And don't be talked out of a health checkup because the kiddo doesn't want to have shots. A lot of times I see that. If you do tell your child that they're not going to have shots and then we decide they need them, I understand the whole sticking to your word when you're a mom or a dad, and you want to make sure that your children trust you and understand that what you say is what you mean. So, we're always willing to kind of reschedule in a couple days when you can sort of mentally prepare your child to come back in for whatever shots they need. But ideally, we would keep them on the schedule, the American Academy of Pediatrics schedule for vaccines. So flu shots every year, of course, that starts in about September. And the flu season goes usually through March or April, really, when the weather starts to get warmer. But you have to remember there are 2 peaks with that. So if you do come in for a checkup early on, be sure to come back in if you did not get your flu shot because it wasn't in yet or for some other reason. We do want to get everybody vaccinated as much as we can anyway, to ensure protection of you and your children, but also protection of other people around them, the older people and the babies especially who can't get vaccinated. So that's just a little tidbit. So you're going to expect some vaccines at these visits, mainly flu shots every year, and you will expect that at about the 11-year-old visit, we'll have a tetanus booster, which also has diphtheria and pertussis in it. Pertussis is whooping cough. And then you'll also have a meningitis vaccine at that visit, which is Menactra. It does not cover all of the types of meningitis, but when you're 16, you get a booster for that, at which point you get an additional meningococcal B type vaccine. So at your 11-ish visit, you're going to get Tdap, meningitis, and hopefully flu if you can, and the HPV vaccine, which is not required but definitely recommended. That is the cancer vaccine for cervical cancer. So, the main thing is to come with questions. Your child should come with questions, and you should come with questions. I oftentimes have people say, I can't remember what I was going to say. I had questions, I don't remember. Just make lists, because we do that in our own lives. So just make a list, come in, write stuff down, jot it in your phone. Whatever helps you feel like you had a thorough visit with us is what we want you to do. And we're happy to answer questions. Our staff is really good and happy to answer questions as well. The other thing you can expect at these visits is general health maintenance is going to include growth charts and seeing what your height is and your weight is and your blood pressure and heart rate. And that's for kids too. School-age children can be hypertensive, high blood pressure. School-age children certainly can be obese, which we have kind of an epidemic in our country right now. So I have a lot of kids who I need to see more often to monitor their healthy habits, we call it. and kind of talk to them about nutrition and what they're doing and when we need to refer. And of course, that all ties into mood, which is one of the other reasons why I really encourage parents to not skip the yearly checkups, even if you don't need shots. It's because there's a whole lot going on in elementary school with mood and bullying and peers and, bodies changing and things like that. So as they enter from the childhood phase into the adolescent phase, there are so many changes, biological and emotional, and so that gets kind of tumultuous. And so I kind of think that, if anything, even if you have a healthy child who doesn't need shots, you should definitely come in at least for that. And of course, for the physical, as I said, sometimes we'll catch some things on physical that you might not be checking for at home. And that can really mean the difference between life and death for some of these kids. So, the other thing is, you should come in yearly so that your child knows us. I mean, we really want to have a good rapport with them. That's why we went into pediatrics, is to have this continuity with them. And so when you come in every year, it sort of reinforces that there's another person here that is helping them grow and helping them, make the right decisions and supportive for them. Because as they enter into the teenage years, of course, things get shifted a little bit, and so we want to be a source of support for them, and we want them to know us. So that's just sort of a tidbit. Of course, we want them to be healthy, and the physical part is really important, but I also think as we approach medicine holistically, we want to also consider the emotional benefits and the psychological aspects of care as well. As far as physicals, it's pretty much basic physicals. Oftentimes we'll focus on sports with these visits and make sure there are no heart murmurs, and make sure there are no hernias, and make sure there are no muscle spasms or muscle stressors. And so sometimes these kiddos that are doing sports pretty heavy will come in with tendonitis and, asthma and all these things that are sort of tied into good performance. So we want to see them, and we want to talk to them about their medications and talk to them about their stretching and whatever else it is that they need specific to them. So we'll talk about sleep, we'll talk about family, we'll talk about school and grades and all that. So it's kind of an involved visit. Ideally would want about an hour, but of course we unfortunately have to cut it down a little bit, but usually you can get it all in there, especially if you are a fast talker like I am. So try to hit a lot of points, but I think they're important ones, and I think that they are helpful for you. So hopefully whoever you do see for pediatrics can take their time with your child and understand and key into the fact that this is really a crucial point of development. They're not as needy as when they were babies, and not as helpless as when they were infants, but they're definitely needy in a different kind of way. And so we're here for you to help you through that. And so call us and let us help. Okay? Have a good day.